confirm, write it in the chat window if you can hear us loud and clear. Okay, so let's begin with Mangalacharan. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Bracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavi Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So hopefully you all have completed the quiz for chapter number 10. We completed chapter 10 last week, and it is always good to complete the quiz in line with the chapters when we are completing. Otherwise, there will be a lot of pending work for you to finish at the last moment. So hoping that you have completed, and we would begin the next chapter today. And this next chapter is all about the universal form. So how many times Krishna showed his universal form? Can you type in the chat window? How many times does Krishna show the universal form? The chat window? Okay, so we got Akash. What was that first name?
Akaspatan.
Akaspatan R has mentioned 5 times. Can you tell what are those 5 times? So we all are
also there.
mentioning different number of times.
1,
okay,
2,
so the
3.
next question is how many times, what all those places are. Type those, if you say 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, type. When?
Okay, you received many direct messages. Now the chat is open for all to see.
Okay, so many of us are writing that he shows to Arjuna at the battlefield, which we are going to read much in detail over the next 3 sessions as what he shows to Arjuna.
And then some of you mentioned to Sahadev, to Hastinapur, in Hastinapur, to Karna. And some of you are saying
Can we tell the correct answer now?
to Arjun, to Disa, and someone we forgot. Okay, 3 to Karna. Okay. So actually Krishna showed his universal form at 4 distinct places which are recorded in the scriptures. One is definitely to Mother Yashoda when he was very young, and his friends and even his own brother Balaram accused Krishna of eating dirt. So Mother Yashoda got really upset and she wanted to investigate it personally. And Krishna said, yeah, you can investigate. You want to check my mouth? Here it is. And he opens his mouth and there is the universal form of the Lord. And yes, many of you got it right. It was when Krishna went as Shanti Doot, but he was, Duryodhan tried to arrest him. That's the time when Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna, as we would see shortly at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and to sage Uttanka. So when Krishna is returning from back to Dwarka, so that time he meets his friend sage Uttanka. And there is a story behind that, and sage Uttanka is also blessed with this vision.
So basically, four is the correct answers. Answer: Mother Yashoda, Dhritarashtra's palace, Arjuna, and sage Uttanka. Great. So we are beginning today with the chapter number 11. Just a moment.
Okay.
Where
we are in the right place. So this is the last verse. We would see that we completed this verse in the last session. It is the 10th chapter, last verse, 42nd verse. Athava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyahamidam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat. So here, at the end of the 10th chapter, when Krishna had shown his vibhutis to Arjuna, Krishna sums it up and says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, ekam shena, ek amsa, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So Krishna made, this a point, and Arjuna said, great. So Arjuna says, now I want to see this form. So that is the desire which, when Krishna says, Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat, then this inspires this desire in Arjuna. Oh really, just with one Amsa you pervade this entire universe. I want to see that form of yours. And of course, there is a very loving, affectionate relationship between Arjuna and Krishna. And because of this request by Arjuna, Krishna fulfills this request. So that's how the 11th chapter begins to manifest in front of our eyes.
So here is the section breakup of chapter number 11. The title is Universal Form. Total 55 verses divided into 4 sections. Today, Krishna willing, we would be doing the first 2 sections. That is request of Arjun, where Arjun requests to see that universal form. So Prabhu gave an introduction from the previous chapter as how Krishna ended that chapter by saying ki mere ek amsh se hi, just by one fragment of my expansion, the whole world has come into creation. So he actually wanted to see, Arjun actually wanted to see that how in each and everything here which is existing, how Krishna is personally present there. So that is what he makes the request in the first section. In the second section, we talk about the universal form from verse number 5 to verse number 14. So here we will see that how Krishna actually started showing the form, and then part of that section is description from Krishna and the other part is description from Sanjay as what is Arjun seeing. So let's get into this chapter and see what it is all about.
Yes, and this chapter also practically proves the point that Krishna is the cause of all causes. So in the 10th chapter, Krishna explains that all these vibhutis, they come from me. Not just from me, just from one Amsa. And here, Arjuna wants to practically see it. He wants to see it with his senses. So Krishna obliges. and that leaves no space for any doubt or any confusion or any any lack of faith, because Krishna will practically demonstrate. So it goes beyond any doubt that Krishna is the cause of all causes, that he is the cause even of Mahavishnu. So in the material world, there is Mahavishnu. We saw in one of the previous chapters, from him comes Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Shirodakshay Vishnu. See, these are the forms of the Lord which create, maintain, and annihilate this material world. So by going through this particular 11th chapter, we also understand that Krishna is actually source of all those forms as well. So Krishna is not an incarnation. Krishna is not an avatar. Krishna is avatari, or the source of all incarnations. There's a very beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, the first chapter, in the first canto, 3rd chapter, 28th verse, which says, Ete chamsha kalha pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead. So that verse is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, and here we see a practical demonstration of the same.
Arjuna vacha mad anugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma samgitam yatyuktam vachastena mohoyam vigato mama. Arjun said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. So first thing is that we need to understand, Arjuna is saying, Mad Anugrahaya, by your mercy or by your will, by your desire, by your favor, you have shared this knowledge with me. So Arjuna understands, and we all also need to understand that nobody is qualified. Like, it's not my right to know about Krishna. We can know whatever little we can know about Krishna, it's by his mercy. So Arjuna is telling that you have given me knowledge about you and your vibhuti, and that is a form of your mercy. You have been merciful to me, and that is why you are sharing this knowledge. In fact, Krishna also at various occasions, and we have pointed out also whenever he says that, when he says that you are like my mitra, you are my sakha, you are my friend, you are favorable to me, you are devoted to me, and that is why I am sharing that knowledge with you. So that is the qualification. So Arjuna is feeling very blessed that Krishna has considered him like that, and he has shared that knowledge. So he is telling that by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subject. Now what the knowledge what Krishna has given? So in the last chapter we saw Krishna was talking about his vibhutis, as how among the devatas he is Indra, among the senses he is mind, among the rudras he is Shankar, priest he is Brihaspati, commander he is Kartikeya, vibration he is Om, and sacrifices he is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Krishna has given all these knowledge in detail. So he is telling, because of your mercy, I am able to understand this. And because I have heard this, what is the result of acquiring this knowledge? My illusion has now been dispelled. So hoping and praying that all your and our illusion are also dispelled, and we also understand and accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord.
Moho yam vigato mama.
So the effect of hearing the most confidential knowledge is illusions are destroyed. And what are these illusions? That Krishna is an ordinary friend. That was, for Arjuna or for us, that Krishna is just a human being with maybe some extra power. He's a very powerful human being. But Krishna has destroyed that illusion, because he's telling that from a fragment of me, Ekam Shena, just but from one Amsha, the whole world has come into existence. So Krishna has destroyed those. And then one understands. So Krishna has told in chapter number 7 and 9, 7, 8 and 9, that how Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna says that aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate, that everything comes from me. So he is the source of everything. And Arjuna is saying that now I have understood, my illusions have been destroyed, and I have come to the understanding that you are the source of everything and you are residing in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So the first life lesson for the day, Mad Anugrahaya. One can understand Krishna only by his favor, only when Krishna becomes pleased. Bhavapyayau hi bhutanam Shritau vistarasho maya Tvattva kamalapatraksha Mahatmayam api chavyayam.
So now, receiving all this knowledge, so actually Krishna has stepped up the gas, as they would say, pressed the accelerator. So right from 7th chapter, end of 6th chapter, then 7th, and then 8th, and then 9th, and then 10th. So there's so much of personal knowledge Krishna has shared. Krishna has shared his relationship with this material world. Krishna has shared this relationship of the living entity with him. Krishna has shared his relationship with his devotees. So much knowledge Krishna has given that it has given so much of joy to Arjuna. So this is very important. In the whole conversation, out of Arjuna is receiving so much of joy that out of this happiness and joy, he is addressing Krishna as Kamala Patraksha. O Lord, whose eyes are like lotus leaves. So he's so, this is just an expression of so much of affection and happiness with the Lord. So one thing that we can immediately understand is that spiritual knowledge is the source of everlasting happiness. When we receive this knowledge, we become peaceful. On one hand, we are able to tolerate the miseries of the material world, and on the other hand, we become joyful. And that joy comes from within. We don't really have to look for objects outside to give me happiness. This transcendental knowledge is joy-giving, and that is what Arjuna is experiencing. And what is he saying? O Lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, and have realized your inexhaustible glories. So we see that Krishna is all-pervading, yet he is not personally present everywhere. That's what Krishna explained in the 9th chapter. Krishna says that everything is under my adhyakshta, or under my superintendence, the creation, maintenance, destruction, and then yet I am aloof from the material world. And Krishna also explained that how everything in this material world is just a combination of matter and spirit. Moving and non-moving entities, everything which is manifest in this material is nothing beyond that. So Krishna has understood this inconceivable power of the Lord, and that gives him so much of joy.
Arjuna has understood.
Of course, Arjuna has understood this inexhaustible nature of Krishna. So that is what he's expressing his understanding here. Krishna, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, and I have no doubts about it. I am completely convinced. I have 100% faith in this. So this is the point where Arjuna has reached by the end, actually by middle of 10th chapter, and more so by the end of 10th chapter, he has reached that conclusion. And now he's very eager to see, Lord, okay, you're saying all this, I would like to see also.
Evam etad yathathatvam Atmanam Parameshvara Drashtumichhami te rupam Aishwaram Purushottama. So now Krishna is being addressed as Parameshwar and Purushottam in the same verse. So Arjuna is so happy, he's so joyful. His heart is full of love towards Krishna and devotion towards Krishna. And he has been speaking in the previous 2 verses that how he's convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And here, to reinstate that fact, he's using those words, Parameshwar, you are the topmost Ishwar. You are the God of all the demigods also. So you are Param Ishwar. You are Purush Uttam. You are the Uttam Purush or topmost person. So what does this verse mean? O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So how have you entered in all these different things, what you are describing? I have the desire to see this. So now we may feel that on one side he's telling you are Purushottam and Parameshwar. Is he doubting Krishna? Though he is saying that he believes, but is there some element of doubt as in why he is asking to Krishna to demonstrate? So actually, although Arjun may accept Krishna as supreme, but others may not. So Arjun wants to establish Krishna's divinity for all, so that everybody would firmly believe. Because he could have just closed the matter there. Okay, Krishna, you are the supreme. And that's it. But then the biggest light and sound show, which is about to begin in the next chapter, wouldn't have come into picture if Arjun would not have made this request. So he wanted to establish for everybody that how Krishna is acting from within universe, although he is apart from it. So though he is not there, Krishna says that I am aloof. So how he is aloof and yet he is acting. And then how is like this temporary form in material world, this universal form which he's talking about, it is actually a temporary form. So how do we understand this? How this universal form is temporary, unlike the eternal form of Krishna which we have been hearing. So there are so many doubts which may come, and to clarify all of them, Arjun is making a request on behalf of all of us. So here it is that he addresses Krishna as Parameshwar and Purushottam to prove that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that Krishna is the greatest of all, and about this Arjun has no doubt. Now Krishna also, he is present with Arjun and he knows Arjuna's desire. So he knows, like Krishna is sitting as Paramatma in Arjuna's heart also. So he knows that Arjun does not have any desire to see the universal form. Arjun is completely satisfied in seeing this beautiful two-handed form. So Arjun is asking this question still. And Krishna understands this. So Arjuna expresses his desire to see Krishna. Why? Now there are 4 reasons which our Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada gives there. First is to establish Krishna's divinity for all. So as we discussed that for all time to come, everybody, whoever reads Bhagavad Gita, they should know that Krishna is supreme and he has proved it also. Second is to convince others. So if somebody is arguing with us, so we can convince. Third is to set a criteria for future, because in future, Srila Prabhupada writes there that many imposters may come and claim themselves to be the Supreme Lord. So if anyone is claiming himself or herself to be Supreme Lord, he should be able to demonstrate the universal form which Krishna did. So he's setting a criteria, a benchmarking for everyone, and then to substantiate Krishna's statement. So Krishna has already spoken some statement. So that is all theory. And now Arjuna is requesting for some practical action points. So like how in our science classes, we would have theory classes and then we go to the lab and we do practical.
Yeah, teacher will explain theory and then you say, come, I'll show you in the practical.
He demonstrates and then our faith becomes even more strong. So similarly, Krishna is being requested to demonstrate. Manayase yadi tachakyam maya drishtum iti prabho Yogeshwara tato me tvam darshayatmanamavyayam.
If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. So, Arjuna is saying that, Lord, if you think. Now we see that Arjuna has come in a very humble position, and that is the mood that we need to have in front of the Lord. We cannot order the Lord, hey, Krishna is big things, huh? Show me now, please. don't just speak. Show me some.
You are God, prove it.
Show me some magic. Show me something like. So that is not the attitude of Arjuna. Arjuna has accepted everything, and he is presenting it as a humble prayer, as a humble request in front of the Lord. That Lord, if you think I'll be able to behold your cosmic form, then I request you, please kindly show me that unlimited universal self to me. So this is what we understand, that Arjuna is making request, although devotees are not really so much interested in universal form of the Lord. That is very interesting. Because devotees are very keen in seeing the personal form of the Lord. They're very keen in rendering personal service to the Lord. Lord is the most attractive person. He is the best of all reciprocators. And he's the best friend, best lover, best child, best son. So like that. So devotees are so much, they're completely more than satisfied with their relationship with the Supreme Lord. So they're not interested how you manifest in this material world, how you manage the affairs of the material. Arey Baba, I'm not interested. So that is the position of the pure exalted devotees. But we understand the reasons why Arjuna is so keen, and we also see Arjuna's very humble request. He's presenting it as a humble request. And this also brings us to a point. Arjuna is not shying away. He has no ego. He's not shying away from the fact that I am limited. Lord, you are unlimited. Of course, I will not have the power to see you unless you bless me. I cannot see. I am very limited person. So that is a straight fact. We have senses, our eyes. Our eyes are limited. We can see certain things. Certain part of the visible spectrum is only what we can see. Although we have technology to see things beyond that spectrum also, but still our ability to perceive the knowledge of our eyes is limited, and so are all other senses. All senses are limited, and we are prone to illusion. Sometimes we get illusioned. Sometimes we see something, we understand it to be something else than what it is really is. So we are subject to illusion, we made mistakes. So all these problems are there, and Arjuna is very, very frank about it. That I may not be actually able to perceive it, but if you wish, that's why he's saying, "O master of all mystic powers." So if you wish, Yogeshwara, so if you wish, then of course you can make me, you can enable me to perceive this wonderful form of yours. So Arjuna pleads Krishna. He doesn't demand. He addresses the Lord as Prabhu, that Lord, you have the capacity, you have the power, you have the strength. And if by your grace, then you can actually bestow that capacity, power and strength on me. You're Yogeshwara, you're the master of the mystic power. If you want, you can reveal yourself to me. So very important words for us to have a proper attitude. It sets our attitude properly. Krishna's grace happens by sincere submission of heartfelt prayers, not by demanding arrogantly. So Krishna's grace happens when we sincerely submit our heartfelt prayers and not by demanding. So sometimes we will notice that people are angry with God, they challenge Him. Lord doesn't care for our challenging. Who are we? We are completely insignificant. So Lord, so we try to challenge God, or we try to call Him some bad words, bad names. Lord can just ignore us. One of the Lord's opulence is completely renounced. He can completely renounce. He has nothing to do, in fact, with the material world. And this is another wonderful quote by Srila Prabhupada. It's a life lesson. If the infinite reveals Himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite. Otherwise, we are finite, we cannot approach infinite unless this happens.
And moving to the next section. So from verse number 5 to 14, where we will see that how Krishna would actually reveal his universal form. So this section is divided into two. Verse number 5 to 8, Lord Krishna is describing the universal form. And verse number 9 to 14, Sanjay describes Arjuna's vision of universal form. So the first subsection, 5 to 8, Krishna describes his universal form. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Pashya me Partha Rupani Shatarshotha Sahasrashaha Nana Vidhani Divyani Nana Varna Kritini Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored form. So now, not only Krishna has accepted the request of Arjun, but here it is the universal form in front of him. So he is directly showing and he is telling, Pashya me Partha Rupani. Pashya me means look at that. See now. So he's guiding Arjun also. He's giving a guided tour basically to universal form. So now this universal form is made up of elements of material universes, and these elements are also sometimes visible and sometimes they are not visible. So similarly, this universal form of Krishna, just like this material world, sometimes it is manifest, sometimes it is unmanifest. Manifest, unmanifest means that I can see or I cannot see, though it is present. It's not that it vanishes completely, but we are not able to see from our eyes. So similarly, this universal form of Krishna, it actually manifests and sometimes it is not manifested. So here Krishna has started showing his universal form and he's saying, Pashya me Partha Rupani Satashotha Sahetrashaha. So he's showing hundreds and thousands of very divine and multicolored forms. So Krishna shows variegated forms, everything. Now please mark it. This universal form is temporary. This is not eternal. Just like how when we talk about Krishna or Ramachandra or Nrsimha Dev or all the other personal forms of the Supreme Lord. So they come to the material world, they do certain pastimes, they go back to the spiritual world and they eternally are present there in the spiritual world along with their devotees. But this particular form, the universal form, because Arjun has requested, so Krishna is showing, and it is temporary in nature. So though it is transcendental because Krishna is personally involved there, but it is temporary, not eternally situated in the spiritual skies. In the spiritual world, there are planets of different incarnations, and in those planets, different incarnations reside with their devotees, but this universal form is not present there. Not possible to be seen by ordinary men. So this universal form, because it is comprising of the elements of this material world, that is why it is not present there in the spiritual world. Pashyadityan vasun rudran ashvinau marutastatha bahuni adrishta purvani Pashyascharyaani Bharata.
O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras and all the other Devatas, demigods. Behold that many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before. So here Krishna is talking about the Adityas, the 12 sons of Aditi, is talking about the 8 Vasus, the 11 Rudras, the 2 Ashwinis, the 49 Maruts. So these personalities and the other Devatas. So here Krishna is saying Adrishta Purvani, before this particular vision, nobody had ever seen nor anybody had heard about it. So this is the first time that such a vision is being presented by the Lord on the request of his devotee. Pashya Ashcharyani. So that this vision will create Ashcharya in you. It will create wonder in you. Oh, Arjuna, see this. So wonderful forms with different manifestation of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumars and all other Devatas is what is now Krishna is beginning to manifest. No human has ever seen or heard of such a vision before. And that is why, if you remember, when we started Bhagavad Gita, I think in GME first session and also GMC first chapter, we discussed this point that Bhagavad Gita is very special. Whatever you will find information, knowledge elsewhere in the Vedic literature, you will find in Bhagavad Gita. What you find in Bhagavad Gita, you may not find elsewhere. So that is the specific importance of Bhagavad Gita, and we see here one of these things which has not been described anywhere else. Ihaikastham jagat kritsnam pashyadya sacharacharam mama dehe gudakesha yachanyadrishtumichhasi.
O Arjun, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here completely in one place. Can we even imagine like 1% or 0.001% of how beautiful and astounding this universal form is which Arjun is seeing? Here it is mentioned that you can see past, present and future. You can see anything what you desire. And all this you can do just by being here in one place only.
So look at that photo in the corner of the verse. Arjuna is sitting on the chariot, Krishna is explaining, and just sitting in the chariot, he's able to see everything.
Yeah, and Krishna is saying, Ekastham, in one place only, Jagat Kritsnam, the universe completely, Pashya Adya, you can see immediately. And where are you seeing? Mama Dehe, in my body, in this body, you can see anything and everything, whatever you desire. So no one can see the entire universe while sitting in one place. Even the most, Prabhupada says, even the most advanced scientist, even they cannot see what is happening in like all the part of the universe at one time. Even if we have CCTVs and multiple things are there, but still we cannot see everything everywhere. And not only that, Krishna is saying that whatever you desire, you can see. And you can also see in future. So it is not that what is happening now you can see, you can also see in future. So
yeah, whatever you may want to see in future also, you will be visible now.
So could see the entire universe, all moving and non-moving, sitting at one place. To see past, present and future. And Krishna is so enthusiastic describing the things that he's repeating this, Pashya, Pashya, idhar dekho, look here, look there, you can see this, you can see this, you can see this. So Lord himself is excited about this form and he is describing and he is telling Arjun that you can actually see all these things just sitting at one place. Impossible becomes possible by the mercy of Krishna. So that is how the infinite, huge, magnanimous, unlimited form is being displayed there. And the devotee of the Lord, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, he can actually see everything. Natu mam shakyase drishtum anenaiva swachakshusha divyam dadami te chakshuh pashyame yogamaishwaram.
But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. I give you celestial eyes. Divyam dadami te chakshu. Behold my mystic opulence. So this verse is also very interesting. As Sukirti was explaining, as Prabhupada explained in the purport, that no scientist can see the entire universe in one shot at one time. It's not possible. And Krishna is saying, I'll show you. So Krishna has to give Divya Dadami Te Chakshu. I'll give you divine eyes with which you can see, otherwise you cannot see. Now Acharyas have explained a very astonishing point here. They say that Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord. he has a very deep, affectionate relationship with Krishna. So much so that Krishna has agreed to become his charioteer. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is serving such a devotee. So we can understand the exalted position of Arjuna. So what is vision of Arjuna? Arjuna's vision is perfect. It is perfection of vision where he is able to see that supreme personality with his eyes. And now Krishna is going to show him how he manifests the material world, which means that his vision, that exalted vision, has to be
Degraded.
in one way degraded. So his vision has to be degraded so that he can see, okay, material world, how Krishna is manifesting this. Already he has perfection of his vision. Pashya me yogam aishwaram. So in previously already 4 times Krishna has said Pashya. Now again he's saying, see, watch. You wanted to see? See it. So Krishna gives divine vision with which Arjuna becomes empowered to have this vision. So this is again a point to be considered, that we are limited. We as individual living entities, we are limited. But if we have Krishna's grace upon us, if we have Krishna's mercy upon us, then we can do things which are ordinarily not possible. Like Srila Prabhupada went to Western countries. Nobody knew about Krishna. Nobody knew about Bhagavad Gita. Practically, on the ground level, nobody knew. Nobody knew about Bhakti Yoga. No, people hardly knew anything from the East, the philosophy of some Buddhism, some impersonal Vedic, some gurus were there. Mostly it was morely physical yoga, things like that. People were all tamasic, rajasic and tamasic. They were completely in those gunas. They had no interest in, that way in higher spiritual life, in the sense that they were not following any principles. They were not following any Vedic principles. They were breaking all of them. In fact, that's why they're called malech. So eating meat, illicit sex was all regular part of their life. It was the normal life where they would do all these things. So one way, if you see, it was impossible, for anybody to turn their direction. But Prabhupada went. 70 years. He celebrated his 70th birthday on the ship on the way to US. Prabhupada heavily accented Bengali, English. Prabhupada went there without resources. Prabhupada hardly had 40 rupees of Indian 40 rupees. Lakshmi, Prabhupada just went with some cereal, some rice, he had a multi-layered cooker, and he had a trunk full of books. Srimad Bhagavatam and other books that he had published. So that is what Srila Prabhupada went with. And if we read Prabhupada Leela Amrita, then we see that how Krishna blessed him, how he was empowered, and how he did the impossible. So if Krishna is willing to give, nothing is impossible. So to see the divine, one needs the vision which is divine. This comes only when Lord becomes pleased and so desires. So because Srila Prabhupada had put in his life and soul in fulfilling the orders of his spiritual master said, you should take this knowledge to the Western countries. Western world is sleeping in ignorance. They have to be woken up to this divine knowledge, divine message of Lord Chaitanya. So when Srila Prabhupada took it with his life and soul, the Lord empowered and then Lord facilitated everything for him.
Sanjay Uvacha Evam Muktva Tato Rajan Mahayogeshwaro Harihi Darshayamasa Parthaya Paramam Rupam Aishwaram. So now this subsection from verse 9 to 14, actually Sanjay would be describing what Arjuna is seeing. Sanjay said, O king, having spoken thus, the supreme lord of all mystic power. Yogeshwar, so all mystic power. The personality of Godhead displayed his universal form to Arjuna. So now this is the time when he actually displayed this universal form, and let's see what he is seeing. Anekavaktaranayanam, anekadbhuta darshanam, anekadivyabharanam, divyanekodayadayudham, divyamalayambaradharam, divyagandhanulepanam, sarvascharyamayam devam, anantam vishatomukham. Vishvatomukham. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. All his wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. So now here in these two verses, Sanjay himself is like wonderstruck, and he is describing that what Arjuna is seeing. So he is describing that how there is no limit, unlimited hands and mouths and legs and other manifestation, like he could not even count so many legs and hands and everything, unlimited. He is saying there, unlimited mouths are there. And then he is also mentioning that divine scents were smeared over his body. So it was not only visuals that Arjuna was seeing, he could actually smell that also. And Sanjay could see smelling, and that is how he is describing that. There were so many diverse type of scents smeared all over his body. His garment, his garland and his garment, both was celestial. So celestial means which is not available here in the material world. And everything is so wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, and all expanding.
So here, I was just reading this verse, and so as this particular form, universal form, the Arjuna could experience with his eyes, with his nose. We also notice that there is so much of detail which he could observe. Now imagine if you go up and you're told to count the stars. You probably will count some stars, and then it becomes a very tiring exercise. You cannot really, and some prominent stars are visible, other things are not also visible to our eyes. But here it's mentioned mouths, the eyes. It's mentioned that there are celestial ornaments, there are many divine upraised weapons, celestial garlands, garments. So all of those were distinctly visible to Arjuna. And also, when we look at the night time, when we go up and we look at the night sky and we look at the stars, and we may look at some planets within the solar system, and we more or less we see it everything as dead matter, right? Stars, we understand, there is some hydrogen fusion which is happening, producing so much heat, this, that, whatever is told to us by the scientists. But we need to understand that behind every manifestation that we see, there is a personal form of the Lord. So that's how everything is manifest in that personal form of the Lord here. So there are unlimited mouths, there are unlimited eyes, and there is astonishing vision of this universal form. There are celestial ornaments, there are celestial garlands, there are celestial garments which are being worn by these by this universal form. So here there is a artist's expression of this universal form. We can see, so these unlimited forms are well decorated. They have helmets, which this description will come in future. Helmets, ornaments are there, different kinds. Garlands are there, so flower garlands,
And among all the forms, we see Krishna looks so serene and innocent and beautiful.
There are divine upraised weapons, and then there are divine scents. So Lord has Of course, he is the master of religion. He holds a lotus for his devotees, and he holds the Sudarshan Chakra and the club for the miscreants to punish them. So this vision, Sanjay is describing on behalf of Arjuna, because Arjuna is like, so Sanjay is describing, and of course this conversation is also happening between Dhritarashtra and Sanjay, and this divine vision which has been bestowed upon Arjuna is also bestowed upon Sanjay by the grace of his spiritual master Vyasadeva. But Dhritarashtra is blind. For him, the knowledge can reach him only through his ears. So therefore, the description has to be given of what is being seen. So it's a challenging task actually. How do you describe such a vision? So it's a really challenging task for Sanjay, but he's trying to do his best. So wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all-expanding vision.
Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapad Utthita Yadi Bhasadrishi Sasyad Bhasastasya Mahatmanaha. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. So the description of the effulgence, how to compare, with what to compare, Sanjay was also thinking, and then finally he says that if hundreds of thousands of suns, which means almost like countless suns, they rise together, and then the radiance may resemble of what he was seeing now, what he was seeing, this bright effulgence in front of him.
I mean, just try to estimate this. And tomorrow morning, you go out, say 9 o'clock, and you try to have a look at the sun. You can't see. And if you try too much, your eyes will hurt and they will get spoiled if you do too much. So that is just one sun. It burns our skin, especially now in India. It's too hot. Chennai was too hot today. So it burns the skin. Can't see the effulgence of the sun. And that is just one sun. Here we are talking about hundreds of thousands of suns. And they don't come up in the sky one at a time. They come all at once. And that's somewhat resembles the effulgence of the Supreme Person. So effulgence is equal to thousands of suns rising together. And still Arjuna is able to behold it. I mean, that's amazing, no? Eyes, his skin, nothing,
Was it a celestial sun? Divya, it was mentioned. Tatraikastham jagat kritsnam pravibhaktam anekadha apashyad deva devasya sharire pandavastada. Actually, to your question, Arjuna was able to behold because he was given that divine vision. Normal people could not behold.
At the time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe, situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. So actually, this is from the different parts of the universe, but Yogeshwar is standing there. The Ishwar of the yoga, the greatest supreme mystic is standing there, and by his powers, this what would be otherwise spread over hundreds and thousands of places is being seen in one single place. So that is very, very astonishing. And Arjuna is able to see this universal form, but others on the battlefield could not see this form because they had not been given that Divya Chakshu, without which such a vision is not possible. So Arjuna basically could see in that form of the Lord, the universal form of the Lord, he could see the hundreds and thousands and millions of planets. So this form is visible only to Arjuna due to him receiving the grace of the Lord.
Tatah sa vismaya vishto hrishtaro madhananjaya pranamya shirishta devam kritanjalera bhashtata. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjun bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. So here he is completely astonished. Vismaya Vishto. He was so astonished that out of this astonishment and excitement, the hair were standing on the ends. He did not know what is happening. And suddenly we see that the relationship is actually changing between Krishna and Arjun. So far Arjun was asking questions and Krishna was answering and asking question and answering. And here was a practical session, a live demo of what Krishna was talking. And Arjun was just taken aback by huge surprise. So they had a relationship previously which was based on friendship. Then Krishna actually revealed that he is the Supreme Lord. And now finally he has demonstrated it also. And that is how Arjun has realized the sudden change in the relationship, and we all can also see that how he's offering obeisances with great respect. His hands are folded and he starts praying and praising the universal form of the Supreme Lord. So change of relationship from friendship to wonder, because he's bewildered and astonished. So here standing on end and bows down and begins to pray. So what he prays, we will see in the next session. And before you log out, a couple of very important announcements. So tomorrow is Ram Navami, and to celebrate Ram Navami, we had a 3-day series of sessions. So hoping that you have seen yesterday's session. If not, the recording is available at our YouTube channel. Kindly check out. It is a short half-an-hour class and specially curated with a special emphasis on the qualities of Lord Rama, why we admire or we love him. Today we have another session at 9:30, so it is 9 o'clock already. You all can take a small break. If you have not had your dinner, quickly rush and have dinner and come back, and we'll be here again at 9:30, and we would be talking about 5 things how to be a perfect couple. So how can we learn from Sita and Ram about these 5 wonderful things? Tomorrow's session or Ram Navami meditation would be, how can I become dear to Rama? So first we heard why Rama is dear to me. Second, we hear about how to perfect our relationship with our spouse based on Sita and Ram. And tomorrow we will learn how to become dear to Lord Rama. So looking forward to see all of you. Reading verses for the next session is from verse number 15 to 35. Those of you who have not completed your quizzes, kindly complete your quiz. And I would really appreciate if you can all write me an email about how you're finding the course and what are the transformations which are happening in your life, what have you applied in your life, and how you are living Bhagavad Gita. So on this note, we will end the session because there is another session in half an hour. We are not taking Q&A today, but the Q&A link we are sharing at the chat window. So you can send your questions there, any doubts there. And please, like I can see more than 100 devotees are here. So I would love to hear from each one of you. My email ID is sukirti@studygita.com, SUKIRTI, there is no H, sukirti@studygita.com. So we request you to write to me as how you are living Bhagavad Gita. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada
Jai, and a very happy Ram Navami festival. Hari Hari Bol.